If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members.
And we are back. I'm Chris Evan, the CEO of Survival Dispatch. This evening, I'm joined by a stacked panel who I'll introduce here shortly. We're going to be discussing the current terrorism threat environment, as per usual, at the beginning of each episode. But then we're going to get into ICE's mass deportation mission, which is going to go into overdrive thanks to the one big, beautiful bill allocating $175 billion towards that initiative. So I'm going to pull up the conflicted question of the night. We'll cover that, and then we'll get into this here. So how do you tell others about the need to prepare without making yourself a target for unwanted visitors in the future? So interesting question. It's not set like they usually are in a post-apocalyptic scenario, but good question. I'll be interested in hearing our panelist answers at the end. We want to hear your answers in the live chat or comment section down below, whatever platform you're watching us on. So before I bring everybody on stage, I've got a short message here from our friends at Noble Gold. And we've probably been approached, no word of a lie, 15 gold companies over the past few years since I acquired Survival Dispatch. And we dipped our toes in the water with a couple of them and didn't feel that they had a super compelling message for our type of audience. But these guys, a little bit different. Noblegoldinvestments.com, by the way. So, you know, most people think their 401k is safe, that it's growing, that it'll be enough for your retirement. And the big if is, what if it's not, right? So the truth is, your 401k, it was never designed to make you wealthy. It was created in a corporate boardroom, essentially, to shift retirement costs and risk onto you instead of large corporations. And it's essentially designed to keep your money trapped. And it's exposed to, you know, Wall Street crashes, inflation, all those sort of uncertain things that are a risk until now. So you can take control of your 401k now and turn it into tangible assets, meaning gold. So Noble Gold Investments, they've helped thousands of people basically take their 401k with no penalty and put it into a gold-backed investment, retirement investment instead. And it's going to protect your future. It's the way to go. And I noticed a couple other companies now are kind of following suit as far as Noble Gold. So talk to Noble Gold today, learn how safe it is. It's super easy to convert your 401k into a tax advantage gold IRA, no penalties, no headaches. And it's noblegoldinvestments.com. You get a free wealth protection kit, including a step-by-step guide to get started, noblegoldinvestments.com. Time to get your money out of the danger zone and into something real. And by the way, they gave us an offer for our audience. If you sign up in the very short term, near term, before the end of the month, they're going to give you 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins. So pretty cool. All right, let's bring our panel on board here and get going. So tonight I'm joined by Dave Kemp, Righteous Savages, former law enforcement officer, SWAT team trainer. My good friend Jeff Niklaus, 20-year Army vet, Night Stalker 160 Blackhawk pilot, our in-house CIA operative Jeff Emde, and author extraordinaire. My favorite Green Beret, Randy Nantz, and that means something because I know a lot of Green Berets, combat wounded vet, and my favorite CBP officer, bar none, brings the passion, JJ Carrell. Good to see all of you with us tonight. So let's jump right in to the terrorism update of the day. And I was mentioning to some people earlier that, you know, the mainstream media doesn't cover all of the terrorist activity that's happening. And there's been over 47,700 Islamic terrorist attacks against the West since 9/11. That works out to 5.2 per day. And one of the companies that I subscribe to for notifications on this stuff blew my phone up. I have every notification turned off. I'm always in do not disturb mode, with the exception of a handful of things. There were 9 terrorist attacks today around the world, and I'll touch on those tomorrow night because I already had the brief for tonight pulled up. So first story of the night here, we touched on it briefly. We didn't have all of the information on this on Monday night, but ISIS-aligned rebels kill 66 civilians in eastern Congo. Rebels affiliated with the Islamic State group killed 66 people. And this gets pretty brutal, by the way. They did it with machetes. Dave, I'll go to you. You're in law enforcement. I mean, you're working as a private contractor, but you're still in law enforcement. Did you know just how many terrorist attacks there are on a daily basis?
No clue. And I think, today we've got all kinds of social media, X, and all these different platforms, and they keep us notified. And thank God, because for years this has been the mainstream media that people went to, the nightly news, and you don't see anything. And I think people's eyes are being opened. I sure hope so, because it used to be you didn't know these terrorist attacks happen like Beslan, Russia, until a book came out like a year later. There was like no other way to find this information out. And now we've got it. Now you're getting 9 texts a day and realizing it. And so, yeah, no clue. And I think even with all of this technology, I think most people probably still just, it's almost like they don't care until it somehow affects them. We always say this phrase that your experiences drive your beliefs. If you've never experienced it, there's a good chance you might not ever believe it's real. But once it happens in your town or to a family member or to somebody overseas, then it becomes real. And with thousands happening over the years, at some point, with 6 degrees of separation, there's not a whole lot of people that you might not know or aware that have actually been touched or involved, whether it's 9/11 or something crazy overseas. But it's worse than we could ever imagine.
That's the key to it right there. And one of the reasons that we're doing this on Survival Dispatch News is we can learn from these incidents. We study these incidents. They give us ideas of what's going to happen. We covered one a couple days ago, Dave, where a bunch of terrorists rode into a city in Africa, all of them on motorcycles, and killed a bunch of people. They all had full auto AK-47s, blah blah blah. And I was thinking to myself, I'm sure they have bollards up now in New Orleans where that guy went through on January 1st and killed a bunch of people. That's not going to stop guys on motorcycles. And if you have a crew of terrorists on motorcycles, they can navigate around the bollards and they can probably get away because they don't need as big of a path. So something to learn for it.
Yeah, and I will say this real quick, as far as American law enforcement goes, in 2025, there are so many more cops that are trained to at least a baseline level today and have the equipment. They've got the guns, they've got the medical gear, and they are ready. They cannot wait to wake up in the morning and hope they have a chance to respond to help people in a situation like this. It's like I've never seen before. American law enforcement and maybe that's why terrorist attacks haven't popped off in America like they are like overseas, because they realize what kind of response is going to be brought to bear against these people. And so I feel it's not like we're foolproof, but I'm more confident today than ever that our police response in the US of A has got a chance of being very solid, where you have dozens of cops rushing to the sound of guns to put a stop to this.
Yeah, we're definitely a much harder target these days. So next one, Jeff Niklaus, CNN team allegedly ambushed by West Bank settlers amid spiraling extremist violence. Foreign Press Association says daylight attacks have gone unpunished. Settlers also said to torch cars outside village overnight, beat man in front of yard of home on Monday morning. So a CNN reporter, and there's a video goes with this that I won't bore you with, but said his crew was set upon by violent settlers all in the West Bank this week to report on the death of a 20-year-old Palestinian American who was beaten to death by Israelis days earlier. And we covered that on Monday's episode as well. As reports of brazen Jewish extremist assaults in the territory continued to spiral unchecked. So I'll just preface your comments, Jeff, by saying, as far as I'm personally concerned, I want less than nothing to do with these lunatics over in the Middle East. Nobody has perfectly clean hands on any side of these equations. And what's interesting about this is that when this popped up, and you can see that it's from a non-mainstream media source, there's not a word on CNN saying anything about this.
You know, I've heard different things about some people have been reporting that there's a genocide taking place inside of Israel against Palestinians and other people. And I really hadn't heard much about that. And when I'm looking at that initially, I thought that was the Palestinians uprising within Israel. And then I find out it's the settlers. And I do know that for many years they were under attack. But I think at some point, you need to be very careful about what you do, because it'll come back home to roost later on. At the end of the day, I think Israel is the land of Israel. It belongs to the Israeli people. I don't think that they should be dividing it. And I think that this area, speaking from a biblical worldview, we know that it's only going to get hotter and hotter. Now, in the meantime, we had the CNN guys attacked. Maybe all the other mainstream media needs to send guys into the area and check it out. And we'll see.
Great idea.
Happens. Maybe, we'll just see what kind of reporting we get out of there. So anyway, it's a lot of places around the world right now is camp run amok. And it's just, I think it's going to spiral until something happens in larger scale. So to be determined, right?
Absolutely. Well said, Jeff. And by the way, JJ Carrell's still with us, but I didn't realize that StreamYard was limiting us to 5 people showing at a time. So when I get down to Randy, I'll put somebody off stage.
You can boot me off, brother.
No, we're not going to boot anybody off. But next one comes to you, Jeff. And this one here, gunmen strike again, kill 2 preachers in Fresh Plateau attack. So another dark day in the Guan community of Rim District of Real local government area, Plateau State, after gunmen suspected to be Fulani militia killed 2 preachers after their church service on Sunday, July 13th. National President of Barham Youth Molders Association, Solomon Daliop, who confirmed the attack to journalists on Monday in Hose, said the victims were members of an evangelism team who were preaching the gospel around the community when they were attacked and killed. Jeff, I mean, you're the CIA guy. Have you even heard of this group?
No, I haven't, but there's all sorts of little groups out there. The fact that they go after evangelical preachers is not a big shock. It's happened all over the world. A lot of times it is because they're seen as outsiders coming into their little insular community. But I think more than anything else, it is they represent leadership of a different point of view, and they don't want that, so they kill them.
Yeah, this seems to be a common theme in Africa and the Middle East in particular. Most definitely. Randy, moving on to you. So the religionofpeace.com, this is one of the sources we use because they're not afraid to publish these news stories. They specifically focus on Islamic terrorist attacks. And I want to share this page. So this is the list of killings, the terrorist killings in 2025 year to date by Islamic jihadis against others. And if you look over to the right side and you look how small that bar is, check this out. Wow. I mean, I actually got to speed it up because it'll take forever to get to the bottom. And I'll go right back to the top and give you the top line numbers. But this is the complete list of terrorist attacks. So what we've got is 1,226 Islamic attacks in 40 countries in which 8,239 people were killed and 4,362 injured. Randy, you were deployed to the Middle East. You fought against these bad guys. What are your thoughts on the numbers? I mean, they're staggering.
Well, it is because, as you mentioned, until we brought it up the other day, none of us really knew how many attacks there had been since September 11th. And when it's in the tens of thousands, it's pretty crazy. But again, you can go look at these things, and a lot of them are, onesies and twosies. They're probably assassinations, and a lot of them are going to be Christians, obviously. But then they could be opposition. Look at that, man, 8,200 people, almost 10,000 people. So we'll just look at it this way. Those are probably good people, most of them, and the bad guys killed them. That was bad guys killing good guys right there. And, what are we in the 7th month, and there's almost 10 grand killed all around the world just in the name of Islam. And it just lends to the same thing we've been saying over and over. It is not the religion of peace. It's exactly the opposite of, just like what the Democrats do. When they name something, it's not what it says. It's the exact opposite. So I think the religion of peace is definitely a poor way of describing it. I believe it's a cult. It's not really a religion. It was a cult. It was made up. And it was made up to do exactly what it's still doing now. One, it speaks to the poor and the weak and the timid, and then the crazies. And then it, empowers those folks to go out in the name of Allah and kill folks and think somehow now that's going to justify or rise them up to heaven, or into some enlightened place where they're like a hero or a saint. And, it's just unfortunate that we're not doing more about it.
Yeah, there's your number on screen since 9/11. 47,839 Islamic attacks and people killed. That's the number of attacks. That's not the number of people killed since 9/11. So, Randy, I'm just going to pop you off for a second so JJ comes into focus. JJ is supposed to come into focus. There he is. Oh, that's interesting. Let me see. Hey, check it out.
Wow.
Squeeze all y'all.
Look
There
at
we
you.
go. Now we're rocking.
They heard you.
Apparently.
They just charge you $300 a month.
There you go. So I've got a few of them stitched together here. I'll play them all and then I'll get your comments. JJ, if anybody else has a comment, just give me a signal. So Minneapolis mayoral candidate Omar Fata, I guess, calls Somalia our home, even though he was born and raised here. This is not just the ma'am dammy thing happening in New York City. It's now happening in Minneapolis as well. It's the same playbook that they used in Great Britain to basically place a Pakistani-born Muslim as the mayor of the 37 largest cities in Great Britain. 30-second video.
We should make dua for him and pray for him. I understand that our Somali communities are all connected to each other here in Minnesota and back home, and I ask for your support.
Back home, meaning Somalia, right? So this next one, I'm not sure if this video got taken down, but there's some reason they do not have the audio of him speaking. They've got a closed caption across the bottom, but I'll go ahead and read it off. And by the way, when you look at this guy, every Somali looks the same to me like that. And I was telling the guys that I asked the new Grok 4, how come all the Somalis look the same? It told me that I was racist and that because I was white, I was judging all black people to look the same. But are you ready for this? It ended the scolding session. It was scolding me by saying that Somalia has the most homogenous gene pool in the entire world. 85% of people in Somalia are from the exact same gene pool, like first cousins, that sort of thing. I mean, it's worse than the mountains of Kentucky, right, Jeff?
I just wanted to know, how did Grok know you were white?
Yeah.
Well, they keeps a file on you. That's the problem with the AIs, is they know who and what you are. So unless you use some of the ones that you can install locally, you can control how much of that stuff leaks. But anyway, here we go. 1 minute, 37 seconds. I won't read the whole thing, but enough so you get the gist of it.
Everyone keeps asking me, Omar, why aren't you doing more videos?
This one has
I'm a
audio.
state senator with a second full-time job and a kid on the way. I just haven't been able to find the time. I've also been fighting for you, passing things like tuition-free college for working-class families, rideshare protections for our Uber and Lyft drivers, and the legalization of fentanyl testing strips. But this summer, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me, because we deserve nice things in Minneapolis too. To make an affordable Minneapolis that works for everyone, we need a mayor that works as hard as you do. I'm ready to work hard to 1, build a Minneapolis that working people can afford to call home. 2, protect our city from a hostile White House. And 3, diversify our city's public safety response. By increasing the minimum wage to $20 by 2028 and passing rent stabilization to stop price gouging and incentivizing new construction, we can protect workers. Protecting all of our communities from Donald Trump means not letting MPD interact with ICE, whether it's for an immigration raid or not. Our residents deserve a mayor that will stand up to Donald Trump and say, no, not in our community. Did you know that the city's own data showed that 47% of calls to MPD can be diverted to non-police response? Cops aren't social workers. Investments in programs like these ensure that the appropriate response arrives when we call 911. And we can actually free up police resources to focus on violent crime that detracts from community safety. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my campaign managers again. They've been on my case all week about make more videos.
Yeah, that's enough of that. JJ, your thoughts on this guy, which, by the way, he has echoed the same thing as Ma'am Dammy in New York City and said that the local police should not respond to calls for domestic violence because the Quran says that men can beat their wives if they step out of line.
Well, this is we've had a long wake-up call for this. We've allowed illegal aliens to pour into our country. 60 to 70% of the 30 million that came in under Joe Biden's term were single adult military-age men from the continent of Africa and the Middle East, the majority. We now have millions of these men. I did a montage on my show, a cold open on my show tonight, and it was all, I just took cities in America, took 5 cities in America, and didn't tell my audience that it was in New York, Minneapolis, Texas, Houston, wherever. And it's shocking when you begin to look at what we've allowed to come into our country legally and illegally. They're going to win this war. And I'll tell you 2 reasons why I believe that. They reproduce, each family reproduces 6 to 8 kids, 6 to 8 children. Our families in America are not even reproducing at the replacement level. This is a bad math problem. We've allowed all these people to come in and they're completely unvetted. I'll give you an example. When you guys all remember when we pulled out of Afghanistan and we killed all those soldiers, and then we brought in 86,000 Afghanis. 86,000 were not vetted. And I know that for a fact because I've talked to the ICE supervisors that did the intake. And you know what they told me? You're going to be shocked. I don't know if I've said this to you, Chris. He told me, he goes, I had never seen this in my entire life. I could not believe it. We were bringing them off the airplane because they come from third world crap holes. They don't even, their calendars are like some ancient calendars. So some of them are like 300, 400 years old. They don't know how to speak English. They don't even have a dialect that anybody's aware of. So what they were doing as ICE agents and customs officers would doing the intake, they were producing documents for them with a brand new name, and they were guessing at a birth date. So we were taking unvetted Afghanis, 86,000 of them, giving them brand new IDs. And I said, okay, what did you do when you gave them the IDs? He said, well, they just walked out the door and jumped into Ubers and were gone. We have no idea where they are. We have no idea. He goes, I'm petrified what I witnessed and had to partake in. This guy's going to win. These guys are ultimately going to win. Why? Because we brought them in, we put them in communities they've taken over demographically, and then they win. It's just a numbers game, guys, now. And when Donald Trump starts to tell you, and I'm the biggest Trump guy, hey, we're doing great, we're getting rid of these people. No, you're not, sir. You arrested and deported 30,000 people last month. There's 50 million illegal aliens in our country. There are millions of Muslim illegal aliens in our country, and you're doing 30,000 a month. This is a problem, but they will take over. Look, we don't have to guess, do we? All we have to do is look at Western Europe and see what's happening in Western Europe. I'll give you 2 data points, and I'll turn it back over. Ireland, last year, 6% of all births were Ireland births. 94% were other than Irish, meaning the Middle Eastern births. Belgium, 87% of everyone living in Belgium under 18, 87% are foreigners. It's over.
Wow. Staggering numbers. Absolutely staggering. Dave, coming back to you with this one here, and it's ironic that it ties into what JJ just mentioned. Europe will be conquered by its own tolerance. Weak and empty Western liberal tolerance allows the insidious enemy freedom to destroy his open-minded host. And in this case, that host is Europe. And it's a fairly long article, but the title does it justice and sums it up quite nicely. Dave, what are your thoughts on what's happened especially in England and France? And what does that tell us here as far as places like Dearborn, Michigan, Minneapolis, Plano, Irving, Texas, those places that don't even look like America anymore?
Yeah, man, JJ is so right on. He's saying the things that we don't really want to say. We don't want to really say that America is going to be taken over by these people, but I don't know, man. It's like you better start finding a place way out in the middle of nowhere to live, to where maybe it's going to take 80 years for the takeover to get to your part of the country. But man, it's going to be extremely difficult to overcome the tsunami of the numbers, like JJ said, was going on. And so, yeah, it's happening in Europe big time. It's already happening in America. In good old Illinois, where I live, Illinois definitely is a sanctuary state. The town I worked, Carbondale, for years, they're not technically a sanctuary city. They called themselves a welcoming city. Same thing, just different name. So Illinois, a few years ago, passed something called the Trust Act, where they made it law in Illinois to where you couldn't help. So not just did they not want you to help ICE, it's a law in Illinois. It says that basically that local law enforcement is barred from helping out federal immigration agents. To the point to where you can't even let them come into your police department to make a phone call. Not just go on a raid with them, but you can't assist them with anything at all. It's a law in Illinois. And so now, people are trying to be the nice guy. Well, let's let these people from other countries, they're nice people. And that's where, when people are trying to take advantage of you, it never, ever, ever pays to be the nice guy. We're going to find that out. It might be 20 years from now. It might be 50. But if you want to see what, is a good indication of the future, you just look at like they say, prior behavior is a good indicator of future behavior. And we see what's happened in Europe. The takeover is real. And man, America is the number one target. Europe, I think, is kind of like the testing grounds to see if this is going to work. In the United States, that's the final vision of what they want to take over.
Totally agree. And it's ironic. Jeff Niklaus, you're up next. This is in France. Islamist and far left activists protest together in Paris. Allah Akbar, we are Muslims. If the police or anyone attacks us, we have the right to kill them. It is written in the Quran. And then the rhetorical question, why do leftists support these people? It's only 13 seconds.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. On n'a pas peur. On est des musulmans, alhamdoulilah. Si la police nous tue, on a le droit de tuer. C'est écrit dans le Coran. Voilà.
So that rant there, translated, basically says what I just said. They believe they have the right to kill the cops. Jeff, what do you think of that?
Well, you talking about me or the?
Oh, Jeff Niklaus. I'm going down the side.
I say welcome to Pottersville, Camp Run Amok. At the end of the day, you get what you pay for. We've been infiltrated from within. It's too stupid to be stupid. This is all purposeful. You can thank guys like George Soros and a lot of other people for these types of atrocities. At the end of the day, you it's the apathy of the citizenry, and we're just as guilty. At some point, we're going to either have to survive as a nation and do some very straightforward things, or we're going to die on the vine. So, it's interesting. A lot of people don't know, but the Nazis and Islam were in bed together in World War II. They have a lot of the same ideologies, and so they'll do anything and use any means in order to achieve their ends, even if it's coming across like they're Mr. Nice Guy. So, I would not be fooled. I don't have a problem for them to, be. I think God created all these nations to be their own sovereign nation. I don't think he definitely does not desire for the whole world to be Islamic. All right. I'll just say that, so, and they believe they have the right to slowly and surely, through numbers, like everything else JJ was talking about, take over the world, and they're commanded to procreate. So, like I said, when the intel, and the old joke in the Army was the intel officer walks in the commander and says, "Sir, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we found the enemy. The bad news is it's us. And so we're kind of the masters of our own demise, and therefore the title of the last article you had up.
Yeah, exactly. So next one for Jeff Emde, which, by the way, before you comment on this, and it's a short video, I'm going to play it. There isn't one single instance in recorded history where two or more diametrically opposed cultures have peacefully coexisted in the same piece of geography. It just has never happened. So this one here is brutal, and it's ironic that it would come to you, Jeff, since you served in Afghanistan. An Afghan migrant smashes a bottle over a young German teen's head, leaving him screaming in pain. The German appears unprepared for the blow, standing nonchalantly before the attack. Afterward, the Afghan migrant celebrates for the camera. 20 seconds. Let me back it up to the beginning.
Das ist ein Ding. Das ist ein Ding. Sag mal leise. Das ist ein Ding. Ich bin von Afghanistan. Das ist von Afghanistan.
Jeff Emde, run with that.
The irony is that he says it's for Afghanistan, but he sure as hell doesn't want to live there.
Right.
You know, if he really liked Afghanistan that much, he would have stayed, but he didn't. And these countries, the leftists, the extreme right, you know, the Nazis, you make a deal with the devil. The leftists think, okay, we'll use the Islamists to our advantage. They'll give us votes. We'll use them against the conservative aspects of the country, and they'll help us come to power. No, they won't. They'll help themselves come to power. You know, this is like, having a tiger in your house and hoping he eats you last. They're just stupid. They are, they're paving their own way to hell, and by inviting these people in. Yeah, it sounds racist. I don't mean it to be. They can, the Muslims have the Muslim world. Let them live in the Muslim world, but they're incompatible with our culture.
True story. I've got one more on the terrorism update for today. I'll give it to JJ, and then Randy, I'm going to come to you to start the main topic tonight. So kind of ironic that this would come to you, JJ. Hamid Patel is the UK education watchdog. It seems like a joke, but it isn't. So this guy is essentially in charge of what young British kids are learning. And is it any surprise that they're coming out not right in the head?
Why is that shocking? I mean, it's not shocking anymore. England's dead. They act like it's not. The top 10 mayors in England are Muslim. The top 10 cities. We're sitting here talking about New York and Minnesota. They're the top 10 cities in UK are Muslim. Let me tell you what's happened in America. We're just sitting here talking about being replaced. There's a little town outside of Cincinnati called Laughlin. It has 3,500 residents. Joe Biden put in 3,000 Mauritanians. Mauritanian, the real name is the Islamic State of Mauritania. It is the largest country in the continent of Africa. It also has two great things that go with it. They are the poorest nation in Africa, and the second thing is they just began to allow little girls to go to school. But now they've completely ransacked Laughlin. This has already happened in America. The West has committed suicide. It's absolutely committed suicide. Look, you can go on Google, and Google's telling, which I don't trust at all. Google's telling me there's about 3.5 million Muslims in America. What? Are you insane? There's not 3 million. There's millions more. But let's just say there's 4 million as a round number. They're reproducing 6 to 8 people per family. Let's say it's 6. They go to 24 million in one generation. 2 generations, they're at 48 million and counting. It's over, guys. If we don't get to the point where we say, you know what? It's incompatible with us. You are removed. I don't care what kind of card you got from Obama and Biden. Your ass is out of here. Get out. And we are not, and I don't think we have the stomach for it. I know we don't have the stomach for it. Europe doesn't. Europe's already dead. There's countries in Europe that will never come back. You can't. You can't come back from Ireland when 94% of your births are from the Middle East. It's over, guys. It's done. And they only have 6 to 8 million people in Ireland. They'll never overcome that. They can't dilute that like we can with 350 million people. But look what the West, look at our brothers in the UK. Look what they've done to their beautiful country. They are gutless. And I'll make one more point. When you look at the videos of the Muslims here in America, they are extreme. They're beating themselves. They're doing war chants. Who, guys, honestly, let's be very, very honest. When they get to about 20 million, 30 million, who in America is going to combat those alpha males? We're all older guys. I'm still going to fight. But do you know, ages 16 to 24 in the United States of America, 70% of those kids can't join the military because they're either obese, they have mental illness, or they're on some kind of hard narcotic that will not allow them in the military. 70%, guys. We've created our suicide situation.
It's absolutely staggering for sure. So we're going to get into the main topic here. Just kind of lay out the big picture for our audience, and I'm coming straight to you, Randy. So basically, Trump's one big, beautiful bill allocated $175 billion to the deportation operations. $75 billion goes directly to ICE. The other $100 billion goes to other agents. But this will finally give our immigration enforcement the resources that they need to do this job. I saw a report earlier today. The city is escaping me. It might have been New York City. Said that there were an unprecedented wave of 1,300 people, interdicted and set for deportation. 1,300 last month. It was a major city like New York City, and that's not even going to put a dent. You hear Trump frequently say 21 million illegals. Like you said, JJ, realistically, the number is more like 50 million. It's 1,300 a month from a major American city, doesn't even put a dent in that. So, Randy, I want to hear your thoughts on just this massive amount of money. Can we get this done? If with this kind of money, can we get it done, or are the numbers just overwhelming, like JJ shared?
Well, it's like any big problem. If you got started and you were serious about it, you can get it done step by step. It may take a long time, and it might take the entire 4 years. But as you mentioned, even 1,700 out of one city in 1 month, like New York, they're not even trying. They could probably do that in a day's time, really, if they got serious about it. And this amount of money could, if it's used properly. But what I would worry about is where is it's all going and whose pockets is it going to end up in. And what are we actually going to get done with it? At the end of the day, what's it going to produce? And is it going to produce 75 million or $1 billion worth of product? I kind of doubt it, the way things are. You look at how many people are resistant, including governments, including the one guy we just saw talking about, well, if I'm mayor, we're going to, well, last I checked, that'd be a federal crime that ends your ass up in prison. But here they will say it right there on TV like it's no big deal. And then, I've had some. I'm from Texas. I went to high school and school down in South Texas, so I have a lot. I mean, when I was going through high school, there was still at least half our high school were Mexicans. We had a lot of Spanish or Latin folks. I have a lot of friends. So most of them were still friends. Some of them, get all upset about this kind of thing. And you have some words with them. It's because some people just don't want to admit it's against the law. It's against the law. And they're getting things that we shouldn't be paying for that we are. And then average Americans are getting turned down for these same entitlements and benefits while they're giving them away to these people for free. And then it comes down to the same thing JJ said. If we got 50 million, there's really no telling how many Muslims are here for that problem, certainly in the last 4 years. So I want to start seeing, besides the MS-13 and Trilingua and, all the Spanish folks, let's start getting all those Muslims out of here. If they're here illegally, they got to go. And let's use that money to do it. But I think it'll, I don't know, as citizens, how can we ensure that money goes where it's supposed to do and what it's due? I don't know the answer to that because it's such a large system. And of course, no one pays attention to us.
No, that's a great question. If anybody else wants to chime in on that, by all means do so. But I don't know how we guarantee the money is spent there. That's a great question. The next one, Dave Kemp, this one is 100% in your wheelhouse. California mayors urge cops, gang members to fight ICE. And then the subheadline, this is what an insurrection looks like. It's on Front Page Magazine. This is very similar to what you just described in Illinois, but it's another notch higher, right? Where it's now we're not going to cooperate with ICE. You're being encouraged to go out and hurt them, and they're ICE officers getting hurt now. So, Dave, what's your perspective from a law enforcement officer's purview?
Yeah, so if you decide to make war with the police, you'd better get to be very good friends with all the criminals, because that's the only people you're going to be able to associate with. And so not only do we see on TV, we see guys shooting at ICE agents, we see, all this violence, we see U.S. senators and reps, for crying out loud, going to these facilities and fighting ICE agents. Like, what in the holy world is going on when it gets to that level of resistance and violence? So, the thing that's concerning is that on top of people like, these Congress people encouraging everybody else to do this, is now you've got also the law enforcement side and the prosecution side, where, let's say somebody does get arrested for assaulting an ICE agent, and they go to jail and they get a ticket, and then they get kicked out of jail, and there's no consequence for them to stop doing it. So the whole system is so jacked up that not only are people like her encouraging this, then the system right now is set up to let these people out, and it's this revolving door, and there's no consequences. And so it really snowballs. Sometimes people are just too afraid to start the thing. They're too afraid to punch somebody or get in a fight or start the violence. But now there's encouragement coming from lawmakers. There's encouragement coming from people in leadership positions, on top of them knowing, hey, I'm probably not going to even spend very much time in jail on top of that. And so police need to be on their toes. You do absolutely, as a law enforcement officer, the saying is, be polite and be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet. And it sounds paranoid, but it's absolutely the truth. And you got to be on your toes. And, we have to hold people like Karen Bass and all these legislators responsible for this type of language. And I don't know if it's going to happen within this 4 years. Maybe if we win the next election, we get some support for the next 8 years. It's going to take, a long time to turn this big ship around in our favor. But you're just seeing the very beginning of this.
Yeah, well said, Dave. Jeff Niklaus. So this is interesting. We briefly discussed this on the phone. So I asked Grok what countries have the top 5 military budgets for 2025. United States, $962 billion. It's $1 trillion. China, $266 billion. Russia, $126 billion. India, $79 billion. Saudi Arabia, $78 billion. So the $175 billion that's been allocated for this mass deportation is essentially funding the third largest military in the world. That kind of brings things into perspective for me, at least. Is that enough, though, Jeff? Can we get these people out of our country and restore peace and order?
It's not money, it's will. I don't care if you didn't have any money, you could get people out of your country if you were really serious about it. I want to go back one more thing and just kind of address the whole thing with people like Bass. If these people are not prosecuted for the treason, her connections to communism and Cuba and all the other stuff, we don't need to wait 5 generations for 24 million people to show up in a birth rate. We're done as a nation if we're not willing to stand up and prosecute and say no more of this and start laying the stinking law down. All right. Personally, I'm tired of playing patty cake. If you were to go in there with the full might of the Constitution, the law, and just tell guys to get the job done and quit messing around, I need $2. Because we'll just knock some heads and we'll start dragging these people out, throwing them boats and taking them out of here. So my fun meter gets pegged pretty quickly when it comes to this kind of stuff, because the men and women in uniform are itching to do the job. The problem is because it's too stupid to be stupid, and we've been infiltrated and we've been torn down from within because we've been asleep at the wheel. You take 50 million, if there's 50,000 federal agents to do the job of Border Patrol and ICE and all that, they each have to take care of 1,000 people. An officer will never do that really in a 20-year career, take down 1,000 people. So we're at a crossroads, and so we need force multiplication. We need first and foremost, we need will. And yeah, it's not going to be pretty, and people need to really get a gut check here because yeah, we need to take that guy out that cuts your grass. That's a really good dude, but he's a Tren de Aragua guy, you know, and so we need to get rid of him.
Jeff, just clarify the numbers. So you said an officer and taking down 1,000. Do you mean like physical altercations or
no? What I'm saying is, if you take 50 million and you could assign 1,000, you had 50,000 officers. 50,000 officers would have to arrest or detain or deal with 1,000 illegals. When I say take down, I mean deal with, arrest, get out of the country.
Yeah.
So
we
basically, have to start somewhere, but I think we have to get rid of the people. The birthright citizenship has to be done. If it's found out that the Obama-Biden presidency were illegitimate due to auto pen and the fact that who knows what, I believe everybody they brought in this country should automatically be deemed exportable because of the fact that we had a person in charge that wasn't legitimate. Mm-hmm. I think it undoes all that. Fraud vitiates everything. Too bad, so sad.
So I got a quick question for Dave and for JJ. So if we roll with Jeff's, example, you have 50,000 officers have to take down 1,000 each, and let's say a couple days off per week, it's going to come out to somewhere around 4 interdictions a day. I can't say from my perspective if that's realistic or not, but Dave first and then JJ, I want to hear your thoughts on those types of numbers. You're on mute, Dave.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you eat an elephant? It's just one bite at a time. You've got to start, get the ball rolling. And if you think of the massive amount of time and energy it would take to accomplish that, then you might not even get started. So you just hit it. And like, Jeff Niklaus said, there's got to be a will, not just with the American people, but with Border Patrol too. I'm curious if JJ, what he thinks now of, kind of the troops and what their thoughts are with the support that they seem to be getting from the president. And I think most of the American people, if the will of the Border Patrol and ICE agents is really there, or if it's just a job, or kind of what their motivation to try and accomplish this is. So I'm curious to hear from JJ about that.
Same, JJ, run with that.
Well, the morale's off the chart now under Joe Biden, under Trump. Under Biden, we had a highest suicide rate. We had an epidemic, people killing themselves, and now we're full go. But I'm gonna say this, and people are not gonna like it. And I've talked to other people that are there in my space. President Trump doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a plan on how to get rid of these people. He doesn't. We're arresting 1,000 people a day. That's it. What the hell's going on? If I was in charge, if they would have brought me in day 1 or day 2 years prior to the election and said, okay, walk me through this. Okay. Well, you're going to have to ramp up your recruiting immediately, and you're never going to get your agents and officers you need. You're going to have to pull from state and local. You're going to have to pull your military. You're absolutely going to have standing armies in America. We've already done it. Don't tell me that it's not been done before. It's already been done. Why is there not a general attached to Tom Homan that's running all the logistics, all the airports, all the flights, everything that goes? They can do that. They do that in war. They can do that here. There is no foresight, guys. It's like we're doing stuff in caveman times. It doesn't make any sense. Let me give you guys an idea of how far we're back. 9/11 happens. DHS was created. CBP, ICE is created. ICE was given 6,000 officers. Do you know how many officers we have grown in the size of ICE since 2001 to present day? Zero. We have less than 6,000 ICE officers to arrest 50 million people. Nobody did any kind of logistical planning. I am shocked because I am a big MAGA guy. Donald Trump's crushing it. I give him all the credit in the world. Tom Homan is a hero. Chrissy Noem, I like her. It's as if they got in day one and they went, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? This is sophomoric. It's sophomoric. Here's what you do. Military's attached. They handle all logistics of flights out. You begin to erect detention facilities across the Southwest, like Alligator Alcatraz. At the same time, you build tents that are courthouses. You go to the JAG officers and you cross-designate them into immigration judges, and you run immigration judge courthouses 24/7, 365 days a year. And you churn these people out, and you have airplanes packed with illegal aliens. And every time a judge puts an order to halt it, Donald Trump has to say, thank you. Now come enforce it, and just continue doing it. But I don't believe we have the will, guys, to do it. Sadly, we have the agents. You asked me, what are the Border Patrol guys? They're ready to go, man. They're chomping at the bit. But I will make this point. If these agents and officers continue to be attacked, continue to fight every time they make an encounter, it's not an if they get hurt. It's a when and to what degree. Is it just blowing a knee out, blowing an elbow out, having a concussion, or being killed? They can't sustain this level of assault. They just can't.
That's what's a super fine point on it, JJ. Appreciate that. So just pivoting a little bit back to, the Democrats basically encouraging violence amongst their base against ICE officers. This one's for Jeff Emde here. Jeff, is there anything that we can do about this? Because it seems like there's never any arrest. There's never any accountability. They run their yappers. We end up with 9 assassination attempts against Trump. Yes, you heard that correctly. Last year, there were 2 highly publicized and 7 not as highly publicized. But what's his name? Tom from, it'll come to me in a second, did a FOIA and got the records on it. Tom Fitton. So is there ever going to be anything happen to these people, Jeff, or are they just, spitting in our face? You're on mute too.
The issue is, it's like JJ said, you just got to have the will to do it. Somebody throws a brick at an ICE vehicle, that's assault with a deadly weapon. You need to get it, stop, get out, wrestle that guy to the ground, handcuff him, throw him in jail, and charge him. And if people in the crowd start throwing bricks at you as you're doing that, again, assault with a deadly weapon, lethal force should be used. You shoot 1 or 2, the rest will stop. It's like looters. You kill a looter, you'll quit getting looting.
Yep.
Yeah, fair enough.
Hey, can I piggyback on what he's saying? Because it's absolutely, he's spot on.
Go ahead.
You're getting the use of force model. If I have bricks and rocks thrown at me, it's a deadly force. Why is there no one shooting? Why is there no downrange? And I'll tell you, because they do not have the leaders inside and on the ground directing their frontline guys to do their job. They have been not doing their job for over 4 years, and now you're expecting them to be on the sideline for their whole college career, and then the last game of their college career, you throw them in against Alabama and say, I hope you do well. That's the same thing that's happening now. Nobody knows how to do crowd control. Nobody's aggressive. And you're right. The first time this what happens on the border, okay, down on the Tijuana border where I worked, they would get uppity, meaning that the cartels and the smugglers would begin to rock us to try to get us pushed back. Rock us. All of a sudden, bam, there's a shooting. We kill one. And guess what? 6 months of silence. 6 months of silence. And then they come back and they forget. We rock. Bam, we kill one. Silence again. But when you continue to allow people to abuse you, like we've allowed ICE officers, Border Patrol agents being impotent, not knowing how to do their job, not being aggressive, they are going to eat us alive. And where are the leaders on the ground, the lieutenants and the sergeants? Where in God's name are you guys at? Why are you not leading your men the right way?
And that probably also needs to be something that leaders like Pam Bondi, Attorney General, whatever, they also need to come out and say, you know what? The next person that throws a rock at an ICE agent, they are authorized to use deadly force. And then the agents, your guys, they know 100% what the rules of engagement are. Because right now, they probably don't really know. It's like, well, I don't know if we're able to do this or not. Like you said, nobody's really told them for sure. Somebody way up the chain needs to come out and say, here's the new rules. And here's what the consequences are going to be. And we're starting from right now. And I bet you things would change.
Yeah, well said. We've got a number of really good sheriffs here in Florida. And a couple of them came out on record after the bullshit in LA a few weeks ago and said that if you throw a brick at a law enforcement officer's car while he's driving, you'll be charged with attempted murder, not assault. That's attempted murder in Florida. So take that for whatever it's worth. Randy, I'm going to come to you next on this one because this is pretty despicable, okay? So this person, or her last name's Vance, on MSNBC says anti-deportation protesters might have to exercise the lawful right to attack ICE. WTF? Like, how can this not enrage people?
Well, it lends to what JJ was just talking about. You know, these people can say anything. There is no lawful right to be able to attack ICE unless they're doing something illegal, which what they're doing today is not, you know, but it also goes to another point that JJ mentioned, you know, and I hate to tell you, I think this has been a thing for a long ass time. Why? Because when we went into Iraq and we took them, there was no plan for afterwards. Even though we hit the ground, it took us 3 weeks to get to Baghdad. There was no plan whatsoever of really what happens next and how are we going to maintain this situation. And, you know, and then it goes to all this thing. You have to realize that the people that are really in control are not the president. He's not the one running some of these federal agencies that are doing whatever they want to do.
Still.
And yeah, and that is the problem. So it doesn't matter what he says, these people are still going to go through with whatever little mission they feel like they're on, and that somehow they're justified. But, you know, basically, and it's probably before that, but certainly since 2020, you haven't seen much law enforcement in this way. And there's, you know, we saw what happened to some of the officers in 2020 that did their job by the way that they were trained to do, and they're in prison right now. So I have no doubt that all law enforcement, regardless of what level it is or what branch, has to have that in the back of your mind. If I do my job here today, am I going to go to prison for this when it goes bad? And I don't mean bad in a way that he did something illegal. He did something by what he was trained, like these people. We've never seen in this country where a crowd was able to throw rocks and bricks at law enforcement without getting arrested or shot dead. And we need to get back to that, because that's the only thing that's going to fix it.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more in that regard. Before I come to you, Dave, I just want to give a quick reminder. I just saw a burst of 100 extra people jump on the podcast across the 9 different platforms we're broadcasting to. We know that YouTube and some other platforms like Facebook don't send people notifications typically when we publish new content. Go to survivaldispatchnews.com, sign up for a free account. You'll get the weekly watch guide every Saturday. It has links to everything that we publish. You also get our daily sit reps. And so, for example, the sit rep that was published earlier today for tonight's episode has more information on the terrorism threat matrix, et cetera, et cetera. And also just a reminder to, if you support our friends at Carnival, for example, and CCW Safe, we don't get affiliate money from them, but we get a monthly stipend that helps us defer some costs. And just to give you an idea, our software expenses are just over $3,000 a month. And there's some other software we would really like to have, but it's another couple $1,000s. And if you all sign up for a membership or you support our vendors, our partners, we can get to that point. All right, Dave, this one couldn't be better for you. I'm not going to read this other than the first sentence. It has come out that assaults on ICE are up a whopping 830%. And Stephen Miller is fuming. He's so articulate. I'm going to let everybody listen to his words. It's 1 minute and 32 seconds long.
We are deporting child predators and child rapists from these communities in mass. We are removing drug dealers. We are removing gang members. We have multiple foreign terrorist organizations like the Sinaloa cartel, like Tren de Aragua, like MS-13, that were imported in vast numbers by the Biden administration to rape, kill, maim, and murder innocent Americans. So that's the dystopia that we are healing, that we are resolving by getting these monsters out of our country. And as we are doing that under President Trump's leadership, Democrats are leading an insurrectionist mob to try to murder ICE officers. I can't be clear enough about this. The rhetoric from Governor Newsom, the rhetoric from Karen Bass, the rhetoric from Democrat leaders in Washington is directly encouraging and incentivizing murderous migrant mobs to attack ICE officers. When they describe ICE officers, these heroes, as some kind of fascist force, some kind of a Gestapo force, they are using the language that is meant to justify violence. ICE officers are literally in real time liberating American communities, once peaceful, once idyllic American communities from an invasion force. I cannot imagine a nobler and more righteous activity for any American to do than to go into these communities, face off against hostile mobs, and literally free them from the forces of destruction and violence.
So actually, I'd like Dave to comment on this, of course, but Jeff Niklaus, I want you to comment on it after him from the interdiction standpoint. We've got a whole bunch of videos queued up, and as you can see there, there's half a dozen law enforcement officers arresting one guy. So, you know, the paradigm of one officer and 1,000 arrests, it's definitely not going to happen with these types of odds, but I'm going to let you explain why they're allocating 6 guys, sometimes 12 guys and more to, you know, capture one person. So Dave, want to hear your thoughts on this. This is the rhetoric. This is a direct result of the rhetoric.
Yeah. First of all, Stephen Miller is awesome. I don't know if he's taken methylene blue or something to make his mind perfectly clear, but man, he really articulates all this stuff really well. So I wish they'd have more of him. And on that point, it's kind of about education. So I think a lot of Americans are on the fence. They really don't know who we're deporting. We're just saying, oh, we deported 1,000 people today. And everybody in their mind has this vision of just a happy little family of immigrants, a mom and a dad and their kids, and we drug them out of the country. And we need to be showing people. If it was me, I would have body cams running live of all this, and there would just be a channel, and you could tune in and you could see for yourself who we're deporting. We could see for yourself the violence that's being acted on all these cops and ICE agents. And if we don't educate the American public as to what's going on, like Niklaus said, there will never be a will to support it. So we got to somehow educate America and the public to who these people are, what they're doing, like these parks in LA that they're clearing out. They're not just, you know, happy little merry-go-rounds with 5-year-olds swinging around. It's drug dealers and addicts and homeless. It's a disaster. It's terrible. And like Stephen Miller said, we are doing the country a favor. They just don't know it. And we need to educate them. And if we don't, we're going to lose that support. Cops are going to keep getting hurt. And then it's going to be like the episode of South Park, where by the end of the episode, the town is on fire, the police are gone, and people are wondering, like, what has happened to their community.
Thanks, Dave. Jeff, quick question before you speak on this. How many law enforcement agencies do you currently work with? Not any of the military stuff, but just the law enforcement side.
Probably close to 700.
Wow. Okay. So you have some authority to speak on this sort of stuff. Then it's all yours. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, I don't want this to be a cheesy commercial, but we have a technology that could really help in the mission. You know, we stand at well over 100,000 uses, and we normally stop this nonsense. When I watch these videos and officers getting thrown to the ground and 5 guys wrestling one guy for a minute to get him out of a vehicle, I just shake my head, because we have a solution, and you know, Lord willing, people are going to see that solution soon, and we're going to be able to make some real common sense, you know, avenues into the reductions of the use of force quickly, so we can get these guys out of here. Because at the end of the day, someone mentioned injuries. How many injuries on a 6,000 man force? can you sustain over a long period of time, because you're not entering a 1 week ordeal where this is just surge ops. This is extended combat operations. You have to view it as an extended combat operation. And so you need to have tools to make them work and make your life easier. So, and I'll just show you, this simple little thing here called the glove. It's great for weapons retention, weapons transition, eliminates weapons confusion. You go hands-on with somebody, they're gonna know it. You're gonna get them out of a vehicle in 2 seconds, and you're gonna stop the fight in less than 3 seconds. And they're not gonna want to mess with you anymore.
So just because you brought that up, I got to go back to Dave for a second. So Dave was a guinea pig and shot with a taser, and they had mock guns. And how many shots did you get off while you were being shocked, Dave? I've never seen this happen with anybody.
6 or 8 rounds, something like that.
So essentially what I'm describing, then I'll turn it over to Dave, but he gets shot with the taser. They're putting the electricity to him, and he got a bunch of shots off. So he's got some sort of immunity to electricity.
No.
But go ahead and speak to, Jeff's product, because you've experienced it.
Yeah, we've all seen the police across the country struggling. A lot of times cops aren't trained very well. You see them not trained in defensive tactics very well. Sometimes they go to a gun when they shouldn't, and they end up shooting and killing somebody when maybe the time hasn't come and they're not confident. So with my prior experience of kind of successfully working my way through a taser, met with Jeff out the SHOT Show, and he's like, hey, I got to show you this glove. And I'm like, let's go for it, man. I'm ready. I know it's coming. And as hard as I tried to fight through this thing, it was not going to work out. And he took it easy on me. So there are these tools available, not just to local cops like me, but to everybody. And man, if there's anybody out there watching, federal law enforcement, ICE, whoever, and you haven't heard of this or seen it, please, please, please check into this with Jeff Niklaus. It's a tool you put in your tool bag that is going to become very useful for you. And I can attest to it. It works.
So
let me ask you this. Could you have shot while I was grabbing? Did you have the?
No, I just tried to stand up. That's all I tried to do. I could not even think about. It's just, and the longer it went, the worse it got. With a taser, it's the same level of discomfort for 5 seconds. This is not the same. It's exponentially gets worse every second that goes by. So the more you resist, the more you try to fight, the more crushing it becomes on your soul. and it's I don't think it's beatable. And you took it easy on me. So
I have a collection of these videos because I love them. And just for the record, Jeff Emde was recently hit with one of these in Dallas. And I've got the receipts on that one. I got the video on that one as well. But I had a feeling this might come up. Basically, I brought this video Dave up because if Dave can't fight back against this, in my mind, nobody can, because I've seen the videos on him being hit with a taser. So this is pretty good.
And just to add, Chris, when he's talking about it goes up, the thing is there's no current ever entering the body. There's no way you can be injured by this tool. And so it's safe. It's the safest tool to ever come along the market, but it's so effective. Yeah.
Right. So y'all will get a kick out of this. I've played the video of me getting hit with this. By the way, Jeff Niklaus can attest to this. I don't know if I told you this, Dave. When we were in Ruskin, south of Tampa, at this range, Jeff hit me with the glove, and it was late in the day. It was probably 5 p.m. or something like that. Before bedtime, my wife watched the video 100 times and laughed her ass off the entire time. I kid you not, 100 times.
Enjoy this, everybody. I guess.
All right, here we go.
I haven't even seen this video.
Yeah, everybody, my name is Jeff Niklaus, and I'm here with Dave. We're at SHOT Show 2025. Great show so far. You guys are setting up the podcast and everything in here. We're doing a quick demonstration just to show Dave what the glove feels like. I just have one glove on. They deploy as a pair. And I'm not going to use any combatives. So we're going to let the glove kind of speak for itself. The glove stands for Generate a Low Output Voltage Emitter. As you can see, I've got my hand on Dave. It actually won't go through clothing. It won't go through hair. It won't go through metal. I can still use it to grab my firearms, my taser, my baton, my pepper spray, use it seamlessly. So it's great for weapons transition, weapons retention. I've got about a 270-degree protection of all the assets on my belt, anything that's in my hand, and I've just eliminated weapons confusion. because I'm not going to confuse my hands with another tool that's on my belt. So what I'm going to do, Dave, is I'm just going to simply, we know that in law enforcement, people will start reacting first contact, right? So I'm going to come to the other side of you, and we're going to just stand back here just a little bit, all right? And what I want you to do is just take a knee. When you're done, I want you to take a knee. When you're done, just kind of tap out. So I'm going to grab Dave up here by his arm. There's no current that's going to enter his body. When you grab somebody with the glove, it never penetrates anything beyond the epidermis. So if somebody has a defibrillator, pacemaker, neurological issues, or epilepsy, can't trigger it, 5 other officers could come to my aid, grab Dave, and they won't feel a thing. So I'm just going to say glove on the ground. Okay.
Sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't do any better.
I tried to stay on my feet. I was going to try and just look him in the eyes. No, didn't happen. It did not happen.
That's too
Hey,
funny.
Chris, I wanted to say earlier that, what we saw and some of what you've already mentioned, the Democrats, what they're doing is insurrection. It is criminal.
Yeah,
they know how thin these assets are. And they know by sicking the whole crowd on them that this is going to happen. So, lending my point, if we were being serious about it, enough of them have seen this glove already. That's exactly why they don't have them in every federal agency and every law enforcement on the ground right now, because it would stop everything they want to happen in an instant. And I always said, man, I can't wait to meet Jeff Niklaus in person, but now everybody's been touched by the glove. I'm not so sure. I've been tased before. I'm not sure I want to experience the glove.
You'll be loving the taser after that.
So too funny. So JJ's got to go in a couple minutes. So I'm going to give this one to JJ, and then I'll come back to you, Jeff MD. And this one's pretty straightforward. It's only 21 seconds. Tennessee is going to criminally charge anyone who gives shelter to illegals.
Now, where new immigration laws take the crackdown a step further, the laws create sweeping criminal penalties for anyone who provides shelter to an undocumented immigrant. The American Immigration Council says they make it illegal for a church to offer temporary shelter, a landlord to rent out a room, or a family member to live with someone who is undocumented.
JJ, the balkanization of our country is incredible. Like this is 180 degrees diametrically opposed to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. Thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this is an example of I hate this term comprehensive, because the left and the rhinos have co-opted, but there has to be a comprehensive immigration enforcement plan, meaning we have to make it absolutely miserable and impossible for anyone to live in America illegally. You cannot get medical care unless you're dying. You can't go to school. You can't buy a house. You can't rent. You can't work. You can't do anything in America if you're an illegal alien. And that's what Tennessee's doing. That's what a lot of these states are doing. And it's not like they have to make up the law. The law's on the books for a federal offense. It's 8 U.S.C. 1324. Anytime you harbor and try to further the entrance of a illegal alien, it's a felony. You can just cut and paste the law into a state statute. Why the bigger question needs to be asked, why is our politicians and the crazy, insane left, why are they on the side for illegal aliens? Because they hate America and they want to transform her. They want to fundamentally transform the United States of America. And they decided to use illegal immigration because that is the way to demographically change America overnight. And they're winning right now. We've got to get in this ball game, and it's all about the will. Do you want to do it? Are you afraid of being called the nasty names? Then if you are, then you need to get out of your position. And I don't know if we have the courage, guys. I do not know that.
I guarantee you that I get more emails calling me a Nazi than all the rest of this panel assembled together. It's a daily event. I get between 10 and 15 a day. And a really good day, I get 20 saying that I'm a Nazi and that Survival Dispatch News are a bunch of Nazis. But anyway, JJ, appreciate your time. Everybody else, hang with us. We're not done. But
thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks
man.
again, JJ.
See you, JJ.
Nice to meet you guys.
All right, Jeff MD. So here's another example of the rhetoric resulting in, attempted murders, for crying out loud. And this guy here, they nabbed him. I think this one was in Dallas, if memory serves me right. And it was recent, right? A suspect has been arrested for the alleged attempted murder of immigration and customs enforcement officers in Texas this month. Benjamin Song made the Texas top 10 most wanted list last week following an attack on an ICE detention facility earlier this month. On July 4th, the 32-year-old was arrested in Dallas after being put on blue alert in the Lone Star State. Jeff, MD, I mean, this is the direct result. This is what comes out of the shit that they've been talking on the left.
Well, and we need to throw the book at these assholes, throw them in jail to rot. And if they're at an ICE facility and they have weapons and they're shooting, they did that the other day. They killed one of them. You'd shoot anyone who had a gun in his hand at that point. I mean, and it will stop when these people say, wow, if I do this, there's a really good chance I'm going to die. Then they probably won't do it. It's just like looters. If looters know if I walk into that store and come out with a TV, someone might just come up and shoot me. So, TV isn't worth my life. And these idiots are doing it for some political cause. And it's like, yeah, no, we're not going to put up with this anymore. You can't if you walk into somebody's house with a gun and try and kill them, they can shoot you dead. Why can't an ICE agent do that in an ICE office if somebody's coming up with a gun and try and kill them? Defend yourself. These are the idiots that are breaking the law, not the ICE officers.
Yeah, exactly. Anonymous Legion, great comment. Welcome to the fundamental change voted for 2008, 2012.
Yeah,
it's great comment. So, Randy, coming to you next, and I just want to preface this. So, Missouri illegal alien pleads guilty to causing crash that killed Travis Wolf day before his 12th birthday. So, one of the things the left likes to say is that, these illegal invaders commit crimes at a lower rate than Americans do. And I don't think that metric is not relevant whatsoever. Here's a young man who should still be alive because of the flood from the Biden admin and putting all these illegal aliens. They shouldn't be here. This young man should be alive, just like everybody else who's died.
Chris.
Yep.
100% of illegal aliens are criminals. Yep. They're here illegally. So,
100%.
So that's a lie right there.
Yeah, but my point really is when it comes down to it, every single one of these that the Biden admin let in the country that results in a loss of life or a rape is on the Democrats and the rhinos for letting them in our dang country. These people should this young man should not be, dead, just like Lake and Riley shouldn't be dead.
Right.
Randy?
Well, I was going to say, even if we didn't have all this immigrant problem, where does the crime usually occur in this country and in most countries? In the most impoverished and poorest sections of that city or state or what have you. You know what I mean? So that is already a problem. So then to have all these people come in with no money, no nothing, no skills, and as we know, 70-80% of them are military-age men. I mean, what do you think's going to happen? How can you look with a straight face, even at a camera or your constituents, and say that these people are committing less crimes than Americans? It's just a false narrative. It's a lie.
Yep.
And it's so different when they try to say they're paying taxes. You think illegal aliens are paying federal taxes? Give me a break. Anybody that believes that is just a fool. I'm sorry to put it that way.
No, it's a good point. I'll tell you something else. Even if illegal immigrants never committed another crime their entire life, and you took the crime aspect out of it, it is completely overwhelming the country. It's overwhelming the system just being here. Even in Southern Illinois, we've got schools, grade school classrooms, 4th, 5th grade classes where there are so many kids in class that don't even speak English. They've got to find some teacher somewhere that can speak Spanish. And then, well, you can't have class today because we can't even talk to half the kids in the class. You're like, what is going on? I'll just watch regular local TV here in Southern Illinois. And I've noticed now that Chick-fil-A, I'm watching commercials on regular TV that are in all Spanish. I didn't used to see that unless I went down to like San Antonio or somewhere. But right smack dab in the middle of the country, all of a sudden now, nope, I can't even watch my own TV because it's in Spanish now. So take the crime aspect out of it. It's overwhelming the education system, the healthcare system, and it's not sustainable at all. And then, yeah, of course, all these kids and girls being killed at an extremely high rate. It's insane.
So
this infuriating for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I gotta go, brother. I'm sorry. I've got to launch.
No worries. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
See you, man.
You guys have a good night.
All right.
You too. See you, Jeff.
See you, Jeff.
So, Dave, years ago, a friend of mine who lived in Cleveland, Tennessee, just north of Chattanooga, that they consolidated all the first responders in one building. So the SO, paramedics, and fire. And he was a paramedic, and he was talking to one of the deputies outside, and he asked him, he said, how on earth do you all manage to pick the right car coming up I-75, which is a massive volume of traffic, and you end up catching the one where there's drugs, cash, guns, etc. He said, oh, that's easy. He said, we get a call from the feds, they give us a description of the driver in the car, and they say he's going to be coming through on such and such a day, and here's the deal. If you all pull him over, you can have all the money, you can have the car, anything of value. We just want him so that we can, hopefully coerce him into telling us who he's working for and get things up to the next level. But this bust here happened just south of Chattanooga on the Georgia side. 1 ton of meth. 1 ton of meth. Like, this is freaking insane. That's 2,000 pounds of meth. How frequent is something like this, Dave? Like, that sounds like a shit ton to me.
Yeah, you would think like, oh, this is once in a million. Like this, I bet that was the biggest shipment that they sent from Mexico in probably 3 years. Well, that was probably like the 30th shipment that came out of Mexico today. That's the reality of those amounts of drugs. Is it's just a numbers game. We're going to put, we're going to load these 20 semis with that much in each one, and we realize that probably 25 of them are going to get caught. But we're going to get 5 of them through, and we're still going to be up 3,000%, money wise. So that is not really a big deal in the big scheme of things. It is on a much higher level. It's almost, once again, it's education. People don't understand how much crime, how many drugs are going on, being trafficked in America at any one given time. It would be mind boggling, probably even to all of us here on this right now to understand what was really going on. So this is nothing. You'd be like, oh, a ton of meth. That's crazy. That is not anywhere near a big amount of drugs. And that's just, one stop in one town. I mean, meth is everywhere. Just imagine how much it would actually take to feed the habit of every meth addict in America. It's probably 1,000 tons a month or something incredible. So that's not a big deal. And people need to get educated on that too.
Yeah, that's crazy. By the way, Dave, there's a bunch of people on different platforms commenting on the Spanish commercials, and Just Leave Me Alone is on Rumble said. So I guess we're going to go from old Mo Sterling movies in Japanese dubbed English to movies in Spanish dubbed in English.
That's it. That's absolutely.
Yeah, we get the commercials. I'm sure we have channels here, but I skip past those. But when a commercial comes on, like Ford does it, I just switch the channel, let that commercial run, then I come back.
Yeah,
I don't listen to it.
I just changed the channel to something else. But Jeff Emde, this one's for you. So Gavin Newsom here on the Sean Ryan podcast admits half of all agricultural workers in California are illegal. Roughly 41% of construction workers are illegal. The real number of illegals in California is astronomical. This is why California is still blue. Illegals, this is insane. 1 minute, 12 seconds.
Community, all these mixed status families, $8.5 billion in tax collection in California every year from undocs. $8.5 billion that we receive just at the state level of taxes. That was the last Pew estimate. So it's not insignificant. Backbone, it's half of our agriculture work. You care about farmers and ranchers. If that's what your number one go-to commitment, then you sure as hell should care about their workers. 41% of our construction workers, Texas and California have the highest percentage of construction workers that would fall into that category. How the hell do we rebuild Altadena and Palisades? We're going to need a peak next year. We estimate about 70,000 workers. Without that workforce, ain't going to happen. You're struggling here. You imagine a peak there. So I think there needs to be a pathway for those folks as we secure the border, and we own that issue.
Do you feel that they're taking American jobs?
Not in Tulare County, not in Ventura County. I don't know many people that want a job out there in those packing facilities. I don't see many people look like me jumping at those jobs. I just don't. Maybe there's some exceptions. I haven't seen the evidence of that.
Jeff MD.
Well, okay, it's BS. Well, the numbers may be right. Okay, so 50% of agricultural workers are illegals. That means the other 50% aren't. And if you paid a decent wage, how many would you get? Well, they're not using fit illegals because no one else will do the work. They're using illegals because no one else will do the work for the pennies they want to pay.
Right.
And it's just like, suck it up, folks. And construction, my brother works construction. He's a carpenter, master carpenter, framer. And yeah, there are illegals out on those sites. What he works on, there are, but there's plenty of people who will do the work. They just won't do it for next to nothing. And
100%.
And if it's really that bad, that we have programs where people can come across, and these companies can sponsor them, and they use them. That they have the programs that they bring in the temporary workers. They come, they work, and they go home.
Yep. At some point, you got to fix the problem. Well, tariffs might make things more expensive. I don't care. What if it takes longer for you to get things because there's not as much workers in the fields? I don't care. I'll wait. I'll pay more. I'll do whatever it takes. Could be my contribution to the country. I'm willing to pay more. I'm willing to wait longer to get stuff if we can get our country right and not make it just implode from the inside. And I think a lot of people agree with me. Like, I'm okay. That's fine. Let's do it. Let's absolutely do this right now.
I can't believe he said it out loud.
Well,
he showed that the way him and the elites look at workers like that, that's like slave labor. He said that out loud, man. I can't believe it, but he did.
What amazes me is in one breath, they'll say, we're all going to lose our jobs to AI. We're all going to lose our jobs to automation. Well, why can't we use AI and automation to pick the fruit, to pick the vegetables?
Which we can. There are machines.
There's no incentive, because if you can pay people pennies to do the work, why buy a machine that may cost $100,000? If you raise the rate, if you get rid of the illegals and you force people to mechanize, then they will.
Yeah. Lots of good comments in multiple different platforms. So Black Dog, Newsom is trash. They're going to rezone Palisades and sell it to their criminal buddies.
Yeah.
True story. The push is on now, where there were single family homes to put in multi-family, super dense Section 8 housing, essentially. And I like this comment too. Sorry that it cut your face off, Randy. Matt, a year ago, Sean Ryan was screaming on how our country's burning. Now he has the guy sitting across from him. Such short memories that we have.
Well, he definitely took it easy on him, man. He just let Newsom. It was ridiculous, I think.
He gives him a SIG P365, and Newsom says, well, you people don't know this, but I'm actually a gun guy. And then the very next day, he's in front of the press saying that he wants all AR-15s banned in the state of California. He's not a gun guy at all. Let me see here. Stuart Ashbury, employers hiring illegals need to be charged. Amen to that. Well, 100%. Just leave me alone. Get them off the free handouts and see how fast they take those jobs. This is a great question here, by the way, from Mac Tire 1225. Is there anywhere in America that is still truly American? I don't think that there's an entire state that is still entirely American.
I don't either.
But there are certainly areas like Central Florida. People don't realize that Florida, one of our biggest industries is agriculture. And every year it flip-flops back and forth between Texas and Florida on who the number one beef producer is in America. A lot of people aren't aware that we have such big ranches here in Florida. So if you go to Central Florida, away from the coast, away from the theme parks, away from the beaches, it's as country and as American as it can get. Cindy and I, we were at a restaurant, Lake George, a couple years ago. And I swear to God, if you had told me it was 1980, and nobody took out their smartphone, I would have believed it. There was a guy on stage playing country music. There were kids running around. They had the wood paneling that our grandparents used to have in their rec rooms back in the day. Like, it was straight out of 1980. And it's so diametrically opposed to the major centers. But
you can drive for miles and miles of nothing but orange trees, man, in the middle there. Yep.
So next one here, I'll come to you, Dave, just because this is an arrest here. So Gunther Eagleman, ICE officers are not effing around. This is the tenacity I voted for. Can't wait for the meltdown once this hits the lamestream media. This is kind of brutal to watch, actually, Dave, because it takes 4 cops. One of them goes to the ground a couple times to take one guy out. And unfortunately, Jeff's gone, but you and I know, and Jeff MD knows, you can put a hand on this guy with the glove, and he's coming out of that van instantly. And this didn't have to go down the way it went down. The problem is, and I'll say this because Jeff's not here, I don't want to get him entangled in anything, but the assholes at Axion went to the owners of SHOT Show and said, under no circumstances can Jeff be allowed to show his gloves there because somebody might get injured. There have been 100,000 usages of Jeff's product, 0 injuries to cops, 0 injuries to perps, 0 lawsuits. We had a guy a couple years ago here got shot with a taser. The SOP for our SO is the deputies remove it. He got an infection, cost us, the taxpayers of Volusia County, $2 million. Would have been a 2-second job with Jeff's gloves.
He should be able to sue them over that.
It's brutal. But watch this arrest. 2 minutes and 12 seconds to get one guy out of a stinking van.
Let them know what's going on with their employer. Look at that. Look at that. Let him go, man. He's scared. He's resisting for a reason. Dude, let him go. Just let him move the car, dude. He's not trying to. Oh, my God. Why do you guys act like animals? Oh, my God. Jesus Christ. What the fuck is that? No. Let him go. He's not doing nothing wrong.
I don't know why they haven't tased him at this point.
Hey! Record that. Record. He's hitting him. He's hitting him. He's hitting him.
What are you guys doing, man? I mean, look at that. 4 guys for one.
For one, you guys need 4?
Why did you kill him too? It's like you're doing that already. What are you fucking doing? What has he done?
Oh my God!
He's a fucking human being. Let him
go!
I'll stop it there. Dave, your thoughts as a law enforcement officer?
Well, cops have been handicapped for a long time of what they can do. A good lateral vascular neck restraint would have solved that problem in about 4 seconds. Even back to good old. I'm not a taser fan, just because they rarely are effective as advertised. I'm a good old pepper spray fan. That mixed with some other just good, decent hand-to-hand tactics. It shouldn't take 4 or 5 guys that long to get somebody out under control. But I will also say that sometimes you just run up against a brick shit house of a person. Sometimes it's like, this is a tough dude, and not every cop out there has got the skills and abilities to handle people that have got a number on them. So be smart about it. You can't just physically overpower everybody. It doesn't always work that way. But when your agency says, well, you can't use this certain technique because it looks bad, cops get set up for failure a lot of times. So it's not always just their own personal fault. They're dealing with these people from a handicapped position. Less techniques available to them. They're worried. It was like the George Floyd effect. After that, all of a sudden, cops didn't want to touch anybody above the shoulders at all for fear of just lightning would come down and strike them dead. And so, there's still that going on, and people worried about, it's going to look bad if I do a certain thing. So cops, got an uphill battle. If you got the time and opportunity to work out a plan a little more, maybe take a little bit more time to get that set up. Eventually, at some point, you got to get the guy out and arrest him. But try and be a thinker first, and before you just kind of, I've been fooled into thinking I could just physically manhandle somebody, and it doesn't always work. And sometimes you just got to be smarter, sometimes other than stronger.
No, I appreciate it, Dave. And Jeff, I'm not going to play this whole video just because we're running pretty long on time here, but there's a significant number of law enforcement officers involved in trying to arrest this guy. And I'll make it full screen here. So this is the guy that they're fixing to arrest here. And like I said, I'll fast forward through it. There's at least 12 cops involved in this interdiction. And meanwhile, they're being threatened by, protesters standing by. So here we are on the ground again, potential injuries to officers, potential injuries to the perp. And then you're looking at lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. And I've got another video that actually shows this people who are, protesting around them actually attacking the cops. I mean, how are we going to get 50 million people out of the country if this is the standard operating procedure?
Well, you get Jeff's gloves. That ends this, fight, 10 guys to take out one guy with that glove, that guy's going down. Having been hit by that glove, that dude's going down. And I'm not small. I mean, I'm 6'1", 210 pounds. And man, I drop like a rock. And as far as the crowds go, someone comes up and starts meddling with the cops. There's a thing called a nightstick. And we need to go back to that. And if you get thumped and you get a big welt on your forehead and you go to sue, they need to say, what were you doing when you got hit? Well, the police were there. And especially now they have body cam. The judges need to go, you got what you deserved. Get over it. In fact, we're putting you in jail for 60 days or a year or whatever. And you got to make it more dangerous to be the criminal than to be the cop.
And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this real quick. And there's a lot of debate about it. And it's about all ICE agents wearing the face masks and the balaclavas.
Good.
And the intent is, well, a lot of them are undercover and they don't want the cartels coming and finding them. My personal feeling is that I don't think it's a good look. I'm 100% down with, wearing, like, you've got every special operations gear, you got helmet, night vision, AR, you got all the tools you need to keep yourself safe. I think if we are going to try to garner more of the support of the public, to me, I don't think everybody needs to be wearing ski masks. I was a cop for 30 years. Criminals knew exactly who I was. They could look me up on Facebook. There's a million ways to find out who I was.
Yeah,
what I did for a
that was
living.
before 2020 though, Dave.
Yeah.
I mean, things have changed a lot since then.
So
That side didn't have any problem sending people to attack Supreme Court justices. They didn't have any problem sending them to other people's homes that were far more up the chain than a law enforcement officer. And I think that's exactly what would happen. These people would start camping out at their house.
They've already doxed ICE agents for,
Right. I guess where I'm coming from is there's like 800,000 local cops in America. None of them are wearing ski masks to work. And it's almost like, well, where's the protection for those guys? You don't think local cops can get doxxed because they go arrest a criminal alien somewhere or something?
But you don't have politicians saying, go after the local cops. You do have politicians saying, go after ICE agents.
Yeah.
And
so
they've already showed up at their house. I look at it this way. They work for ICE. Their families don't.
Yeah. I'm just saying if that's the belief, every cop in America needs to be wearing ski masks, and that's just to be consistent, like, because it could happen to anybody, and I'm not sure everybody would be down with that. And I'm open. I just want to hear what people's comments are, what you guys think about it.
Well, it's a good question, Dave. My perspective on this is that our country's been invaded. We have an invading army inside of our border, and people are very galvanized. There's this huge, chasm between the people on the left and the rest of us. And in this particular case, I would myself, I'd be in favor of ICE doing just about anything to try and save the country. And my concern is that, there are calls for violence against ICE, and it's happening already. And I predicted this a couple months ago. I said, it's not going to be long before they start shooting at ICE. So I kind of look at them different, is because they're trying to get this invading army out of our freaking country. But I don't understand what you're saying, Dave, from a local and sheriff's office. I suppose there's a time and a place for everything.
No, it makes perfect sense. But, the reality is there's a reason those politicians are asking for their faces to be uncovered, and it's not a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially at this, I think, especially at this point, where if it was just like, normal operations, I would think we might need to think about this. But at this point, I think it was one of the very first clips where, at Karen Bass, you got everybody like, oh, we've got to fight back. At this point, we're gonna have robots coming out there, and what are you gonna do then? You're gonna try and identify them because we're coming to get you. And I agree too. We need to do everything possible to get every illegal person out of this country, every illegal immigrant, whether it's from Mexico or Venezuela or Somalia, whatever. This has got to be hardcore. This is over, and we got to start this right now.
So the latest. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, I guarantee you, if you get them to take off the mask, the next thing the Democrats go, well, they got to lose the face shields too. That's not fair. I can't really see his face, so you got to lose the face shields. And the helmet. It's really not fair. I don't know what color of his hair is. He's wearing a helmet.
One of the things I would never do is voluntarily give up a piece of equipment. So if I was in charge of ICE, I would never come out and be like, you know what? I don't know if this looks good. I think we're going to make them take it off. That's ridiculous. If you've got the right to do it right now, you keep it. You hold on to that. You don't give up anything you have a right to do on your own without a fight
or any advantage.
The most current poll from Gallup says that 62% of Americans support the deportation of all illegals, not just the criminals, all of them. When you go and look at that poll, just like every other poll that's released by these big companies, you can click through to find the methodology that they use. Okay. So when you see something, for example, saying that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are neck and neck, and then you go look at how they conducted the poll, you find crazy numbers: 60% Democrats, 10% independents, 30% Republicans polled to skew the number. So the number is what the result is that they got, but they didn't poll fairly across the spectrum. I would hazard to guess on that Gallup poll, honestly, that if they're saying it's 62%, it's 82% of Americans are in favor of they got to go for all the reasons you mentioned. Even forget about the crime, just what Dave said. Look what it does to housing. It messes up everything in our entire country. You have hospitals now where tax-paying Americans with insurance can't get service because they're overwhelmed. I can't remember what the number was. I just saw it recently. I want to say 40% of visits to the ER during Joe Biden's term were illegal aliens. It's a massive number.
I wonder, JJ was talking about how this is like almost insurmountable, just a numbers thing. We might not ever overcome this, but I wonder if somehow this might implode from within for a lot of these immigration. Like, it's almost like it makes me want to think of like the movie Escape from New York. Maybe you just you've got Minneapolis. You want everybody there to be from Somalia, have at it. And let's see what happens. We're not going to let that happen to our little town of 3,000 people. But if you want to do that, and I wonder if that would have any type of effect, or if it would just be unstoppable and just spread from there.
I don't know, but we've got just a handful of tabs to go through, and we'll put a wrap on this. But shocking video of violent mob in Santa Ana, California, surrounded and attacked ICE agents yesterday as they tried to lawfully arrest a suspect. These thugs obstructed a federal arrest and physically assaulted federal agents. That's a felony. This is not activism. This is criminal behavior, plain and simple. This is obstruction and assault on federal agents. Help me identify every one of them so we can make sure they are charged for this. It's a 2-minute video. I'll play a good chunk of it.
Yeah, she needs to be arrested too.
He's fucking bleeding. Stay back. I am saying that. Take off your mask. You can't have your mask on. Take off your mask. Take off your mask. The fuck is it? Come on, man. That's one single fucking man. Take off your mask. The fuck? Call the cops if you have a problem. Take off your fucking mask. You guys are doing it illegal. You guys are fucking faggots, fucking bitches. Don't you have a fucking family? Well, it's one single fucking man. You don't have a family? Come on, man. Why would you fucking make him bleed? Do you know his family? And the way you're treating him. I'm not stepping back. Stay back. Hit me. Hit me. I don't need to hit you. Exactly, you fucking coward. Take off your fucking mask. Take off your fucking mask, you fucking bastard. Stay back. Fucking coward. Bitches. Fucking coward. fucking asshole. Hey, careful. Hey, he didn't do anything for you. He didn't do anything to you.
Hey.
He didn't do anything to you. Hey. You a citizen, bitch. He's a fucking citizen.
What the fuck?
Hey, Steven.
What the
Steven.
fuck?
Hey, my friend.
What the?
We're stepping back, but you can't do that. Stop hitting him. He's down. Stop hitting him.
You're gonna get hit.
Yeah, but you're hitting him already. What you're doing is so fucked up. What you guys are doing so fucked up. You don't have a family.
On the sidewalk, please. On the sidewalk, please. On the sidewalk, please. We're gonna get hit.
Anyway, the rest of it's slow motion. Try and identify them. Anybody want to comment on that gong show?
Yeah, and there you go. So one of the ICE agents with his mask off, and they're posting the pictures. So, at this point, you're never going to see an ICE agent without a ski mask on, and they shouldn't. So, it's kind of my final opinion on it. But you can see you might only have 8 or 10 ICE agents there, or Border Patrol. And who knows how big that crowd was? It could have been another 30 people there. And you got to be very careful. Like I was like, yeah, that girl needs to be arrested, but that's just more because then she's going to fight. Then it's going to take 2 or 3 of you to get her in cuffs. So the reason you can't just arrest everybody is you just don't have the people to pull it off. So you can get overwhelmed in a hurry. So you got to be very choosy on who's going to go, regardless of kind of what people are doing. You got to prioritize what's happening. What's the biggest problem, the closest problem. Let's work on that first and then work on the rest. But
so while y'all were talking, maybe 10, 15 minutes ago, I went looking for another video just because, and it's our good friend, Keith Graves from Christian Warrior Training, who of course was a law enforcement officer for 30 years in the Bay Area. And this video is just classic of Keith getting hit with the glove. I wanted to share it with our audience because I don't recall if I've ever shared this one with our audience, but you'll see Keith's reaction to the glove here.
All right, so you know what's going to happen here. I'm just going to say, go ahead and just take a knee when you're done. Ah! Oh, what's that? Were you done? I'm done. That's not what you said.
I feel like, honestly, I felt like getting tasered. I mean, like, that's a little bit different.
Like it, man. No, I just got hit by the taste of 10, man. There's nothing like it.
yeah, so there's different power levels on that glove, and you could also use 2 of them at once. So, if you really got suited up right, you have 1 or 2 guys designated as the glove guys.
Right.
There's nobody coming back from that.
No, not at all. There's only one guy that I know of. Jeff, what's the guy's name? Who's friends with Don, man? I think he was a SEAL. He's got multiple black belts. He's in his 60s. I can't remember his name. Saved my life. He's the only guy I know of that was hit with the gloves and didn't go down. He didn't move, but he didn't go down.
Yeah, I don't know for sure who you're talking about. But.
He's one of Don's guys who helps with the show and stuff, but he was a former SEAL as well. The name's escaping me right now, but anyway, that's basically the end of tonight's episode. Other than I just want to thank Roger Moore, I believe, sent this in. This is not normal. We just had 4 1 in 1,000 year storms in a single week. And people are finally starting to discuss things like weather manipulation, including ourselves. And as recently as 9 months ago, we got 2 strikes for bringing that topic up. But the genie's out of the bottle now. But anyway, Roger Moore, thank you for sharing that with our. Basically, Roger shared that on our private Signal chat, which is for our Guardian members, which is survivaldispatchnews.com. So their free account gets you a lot of stuff, but for the people who pay $7.99 a month or $75 for a year, they get 2.5 months for free. They get access to our private Signal chat. On a busy day in there's 3,000 messages, a tremendous amount of intel and information shared there. And you get a bunch of other perks as well. You get sources, all the source links to all of our videos. You get $370 worth of Survival Dispatch Insider e-magazines. The 37 of them they normally sell for $10 a piece. and so on and so forth. But anyway, let's get into the conflicted question and wrap this thing up. So how do you tell others about the need to prepare without making yourself a target for unwanted visitors in the future? And I'm just going to go from the bottom up. So Randy, Jeff, then Dave.
Well, I think inherently, if you're telling people they should prepare, you're going to do that regardless, but I guess you could also put out some other information that may, at least give them a warning of, yeah, you think if you're going to come take my little stockpile when it all comes down, you've got another thing coming type of deal. But I think it's just lightly putting out there, as you've mentioned on another episode, you're not really planning for doomsday, because there's really no planning for that. These are like if there's a flood, if riots start out or something else, or another lockdown for some reason, or when resources are going to be low, that is what you prep for. And I think just gently reminding folks that, it's not a bad thing, right? It doesn't mean you've got to go out and buy $1 million worth of supplies, but, wouldn't you want to be prepared if something happened and you couldn't go to the grocery store and buy food? I mean, wouldn't you want to be prepared? That would be it.
Well, I mean, and I'm sitting right beside me, I would say here's one of your best options, which our
I just had some of that tonight. As a matter of fact.
Did you really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, I don't know if you've seen this, but these guys do freeze-dried American meat. So beef, chicken, or pork, 100% American ranchers, no mRNA, no hormones, no antibiotics, and nobody else is doing it. It is really hard to freeze dry a lot of this stuff because the fat ends up turning into like this mushy stuff that'll make the meat go bad. These guys have a proprietary process for doing it, but this is super high grade meats. Can't say enough good things about them. Carnival.
Yeah, that commercial made me hungry just watching it.
You and me both. But it's interesting Randy would mention that because it's a great product for preppers, got a 25-year shelf life. But my problem is they sent me a box of it. I ate it all. Cindy's like, it's supposed to be for our stockpile. So I was talking to the guys at Carnival and I said, y'all need a new tagline. I'm trying to remember exactly how I put it, but basically I said, this is so good, you'll end up eating your stockpile. Because I did. Anyway, Jeff, Emde, your thoughts on how do you encourage people to prep, let them know that you're involved in prepping, but not set yourself up as a target?
Well, I would tell them I'm prepping and that I have a remote place where I'm going to go to and say, not my house. And I'd give them all these reasons why I'm not going to stay at my house. And then I'd stay at my house.
Well, you just announced that to thousands of people. You might have to come up with a new plan now.
Well, I say in the hypothetical here, my neighbors are prepped. I mean, we live in Mormon country. Half these people got more stuff than I did.
Yeah. I mean, for those people who don't know, the LDS, Church of Latter-day Saints, they literally wrote the book on prepping. You can go download it for free. And they encourage all of their members to have a minimum of 2 years food on hand for their family. So anyway, Dave, your thoughts on encouraging people to prep without it being turned against you if and when the shit hits the fan?
Yeah, I think it's real easy just to bring up recent events like, hey, man, that storm that came through, a couple weeks ago and the power was out, it sucked. Do you have a generator? And, do you guys have anything for power? I'm looking into something. You could just bring it up. Like maybe you don't know quite as much as you do, but start the conversation and lead them down the road to explain how important that really is. And then you could always bring up, a few things here and there, food supplies, food storage, that type of thing. But it doesn't have to be a testimonial necessarily about what you do and all the things you have, but just bring up in conversation the importance of those things, some struggles you've had in the past with power outages or whatever, and explain to them like, hey man, this might be pretty important. We need to do some research on that and encourage them. That way you can also encourage them from, like you said, freeze-dried food or long-term storage food supplies, things you've tried before. I think you can bring that up in a way that doesn't make it sound like you've got a Connex box buried in your right. backyard full of it, and just have a good normal conversation about it with people. Ask them questions about what they would do.
Yeah, great answers across the board. I don't know that I really have anything to add other than there was somebody on our main YouTube channel earlier tonight made a comment not to buy the generator that we recommended. Well, we've only actually recommended, since I took over at Survival Dispatch, since I acquired the company, 2 propane generators that are small generators. They're not high capacity output. They're in like the 5,000 watt range. And somebody was complaining that it was too heavy or something. It's probably somebody, just whoever that was, it's probably somebody prior to my time owning Survival Dispatch, because I've never, not once, have I endorsed a gas generator on our channel specific to a brand. So propane is the way to go. You don't have to stabilize the fuel now that we're under prepping. You don't have to rotate it every 90 days. And if you got battery backups, what we do is we run propane generator an hour in the morning, an hour at night, charge up all of our batteries, and then we turn it back off. And those propane bottles last forever. They don't have a shelf life. They don't go bad. So anyway, whoever that is bought that, I'm sorry to hear you had problems, but it definitely wasn't anything that my team ever recommended. All right. Well, listen, guys, I appreciate your input on everything. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. regular time. We've got the CEO of Red Balloon joining us, and it's a really interesting mission, which is why I asked him to come on. So this is their mission: uniting the community of good businesses and reliable, motivated job seekers who value freedom, hard work, merit-based recognition, and productive workplace culture free from divisive, woke nonsense. So necessity is the mother of all invention. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that at all, but I like their mission, that they're basically, if you're awake and not woke and you're looking for employees, it's a tight labor market. It's hard to find good people. These guys are doing some pretty cool stuff, and they're calling it out. They're putting their values ahead of their dollars and cents. So take it for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, cool.
Other than that, Friday night, Mike Glover will be back with us. We haven't decided on the topic yet, so it's to be determined. But want to thank everybody out there, support Survival Dispatch News, our Guardian subscribers, our vendors as well. We've got a great closing video for y'all. And between tonight and tomorrow night, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And God bless America.
God bless
See y'all.
America.